Hi there. In academic writing, it is very important to show your reader how your ideas connect to one another. But how exactly do we do this? How can we link ideas across sentences? That's what we're going to look at in this video. Let me ask you a question. What do you think of as being typically Dutch or typical of the Netherlands? I usually think of tall people, bikes, cheese, and flat countryside. So a couple of my ideas might look like this. Internationally, people tend to associate the Netherlands with a number of typical characteristics. Firstly, the Dutch are famous for being a tall nation. This physical characteristic has been linked to a high level of consumption of dairy products. Now, to figure out how we might connect sentences like these, we first need to look at what the different parts of the sentences actually do. Each of these sentences can be split into the topic at the beginning, which tells the reader what we're talking about, and the focus, which adds any relevant or new information about the topic. So the topic of the first sentence is the Dutch, and the information we're adding, the focus, is that they're quite tall. As you can see, the focus of the first sentence, a tall nation, links up with the topic of the second sentence, this physical characteristic. The idea is that we give the reader some information. Once they're familiar with it, we build on it to add the next piece of new information. So the reader always has a familiar basis from which to move to a new idea. Part of this process is using words like this, these, it, and they. These are easy-to-use reference words which support the reader in seeing the connections between our ideas. Reference words can also be used together with summary words like system, problem, approach, or like in our example here, characteristic. This allows us to maintain a clear line of connection between known information, something the reader is now familiar with, and new information, something we're adding to the reader's understanding. And it helps us to do so without repeating ourselves too much. Now, if I want to write a full, well-flowing paragraph including these and other ideas, it might go like this. Internationally, people tend to associate the Netherlands with a number of typical characteristics. Firstly, the Dutch are famous for being a tall nation. This physical characteristic has been linked to a high level of consumption of dairy products. Indeed, the dairy industry is a cornerstone of the Dutch economy and is particularly well suited to the flat landscape in the majority of the country. Another result of these specific geographic conditions is the Dutch tendency to use the bicycle as a main form of transport. On the whole, the typical impressions people have of the Netherlands are both accurate and interconnected. You can see in this example that we've created flow by linking the early part of each sentence, the topic, back to the latter part of the previous sentence. Firstly, links back to number of characteristics. This physical characteristic links back to a tall nation. The dairy industry links back to consumption of dairy products. These specific geographic conditions refers back to the flat landscape. In our entire example paragraph, we can see that the topic tends to change with each sentence, from the Dutch to being tall, to dairy consumption, to geographic conditions. This is known as topic changing. However, we could also approach this paragraph by keeping the same topic for each sentence. Look at this example. Internationally, the Netherlands is strongly associated with a number of typical characteristics. Firstly, the Dutch are famous for being a tall nation. They are also known to be high consumers of dairy products. In addition, the country is famous for having a flat landscape and fertile farmland. The Dutch are also renowned for their tendency to use the bicycle as a main form of transport. On the whole, the Dutch have a certain reputation in the world, and it appears to be well-founded. We can see here that the topic of each sentence is the same. It is either the Netherlands or the Dutch in each sentence, while we use the focus part of the sentence to add pieces of new information as we progress through the paragraph. This is known as topic stringing. Notice again here the use of reference words, like they, and summary words, like the country, which help us to avoid repeating ourselves while maintaining the flow. Whether we choose topic changing or topic stringing in our writing depends entirely on the nature of the information we're trying to convey. In reality, most paragraphs are a combination of the two patterns, and we decide as we go based on how we want our ideas to fit together. As well as linking our ideas well from sentence to sentence, it is important that the different sentences together form a coherent or unified paragraph. That is, that they all relate to the same main point, our topic sentence. Sticking with our first paragraph on the Netherlands, we can see the topic sentence tells us there are certain characteristics considered typical of the Netherlands and its people. Each following sentence can be linked directly to that main idea for the paragraph. Average height of the Dutch, dairy consumption among the Dutch, geography of the Netherlands, and transport preferences of the Dutch. By doing this, we make sure that not only do our sentences flow well from one to the next, but the overall paragraph flows as well and deals with just one theme. This makes the reader's job much easier. We can check our own writing as well using these techniques. When we revise our work, as we should do regularly, we can ask ourselves how well the sentences flow from one to the next and how well each sentence in the paragraph relates back to the topic sentence. Using these tools to create and check the flow in our writing is crucial in conveying our ideas effectively to the reader. Thanks for watching. See you next time.